Hey, business family, and welcome to another installment of the Business of Black Business. Question for you. Are you interested in brand building and marketing? Do you see yourself working with brands to strengthen and to try to propel them to global markets? Well, today we get to talk to somebody I believe is kind of a juggernaut in that space, a person who has really made a mark in the food and beverage branding industry. Again, this is Jay Reynolds. I own Wolf Creek Consulting. We're a top ranked staffing company, but you know that this is the business of Black business. And it's a show that's designed to help Black entrepreneurs and would be entrepreneurs start and grow and scale a business. You know, the biggest thing about it, the coolest thing about it is it's a real unique opportunity to gain access to very successful people and to hear how they did it. I really want you to be in the room. Now, let's get on with it. Today, we get to talk to somebody that I think that you're going to really be interested in. Meet Asa Seeley of That Branding Guy. He's a seasoned professional with over a decade of hands-on experience in the food and beverage industry. Asa has helped brands navigate the complexities of online and retail marketing, helping to ensure them to reach their full potential. I'm really as a guy with a marketing background, I'm really am very interested in getting his perspective. So, Asa, welcome to the Business of Black Business.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for having me.
Hey, well, to get started, first of all, I want to again congratulate you on your latest accomplishment as being one of the top 50 Black professionals by the Legacy magazine. Congratulations! That's a huge honor. And to start, I want to talk about who you are. Who are you? Where did you come from? And who were your role models? What makes you you?
What makes me me? My name is Asa Paul Seeley, and originally from Trinidad and Tobago. And what makes me me, I believe, is my deep-rooted values, my spiritual connection on that journey, keeping faith at the forefront of my decisions and every step that I take. And as well as always referring to those morals and values that my parents instilled in me as a youth, growing up in the Caribbean. I've taken them on the journey that I have experienced coming to the United States, and through all of the businesses and the relationships that I have had the pleasure of building over the years.
That's actually very cool. I tell you what, one of the things that I like about your business, I know you wear a number of hats, but one of the name of your company, That Branding Guy, is one that people will definitely remember. Now, what inspired that name, and what makes your approach to branding and marketing unique? And I mean, especially when it comes to working with Caribbean and multicultural type companies.
Yeah. Well, That Branding Guy is really a fusion of all of the experiences that shaped me. From a young boy growing up in Trinidad and Tobago to an entrepreneur navigating the US business scene. I originally started back in radio and entertainment, transitioned into marketing and events, and I found my lane helping brands, especially Caribbean brands and multicultural ones. I help them position themselves authentically in a competitive market in the US. My journey, I could say that it's always been about storytelling, identity, and most importantly, creating access for others. I've always worked behind the scenes. I'm a real behind the scenes kind of guy.
And you spent some time in front of the camera too. I mean, in front of you said you started your career in radio, right? So you spent some time as an on-air type of personality, right? In addition,
that was back in college. So I had my radio show, which really gave me access to a lot of upcoming acts, artists, celebrities. One would refer to them as. Before they actually got that celebrity and that big fame. So I've had the pleasure of working with some big names before they were really big names, and working with them to build their brand, utilizing my voice on college radio, which back in the day was where all of these artists really came to get their breakthrough. You know, they were on campuses, they were doing
Oh
all
yeah.
welcome weeks, you know. So I was part of that era that, you know, before streaming was a thing.
Right. Before stream, you had the coolest job on the campus.
Yeah,
You had
it was
absolutely
pretty
coolest
cool,
job.
you know. And
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of working with DJ Irie,
Wow.
who was the general manager at FIU Radio back in the day, and I was their promotions director. So worked really closely with Irie, got a lot of gems from him. You know, kudos
Good
to
guy.
Irie and
Good
everything
guy.
that he has done. You know, so. But for the most part, I've really worked behind the scenes, but now I'm embracing the responsibility of being a visible advocate and connector for our culture and community. The name that branding guy, it came from how people referred to me over the years. They would always say, you know, Asa, that branding guy.
That branding guy, right? They got it stuck then.
Yeah, that's exactly what it happened. They say you're not supposed to give yourself a nickname, so it stuck, and I really embraced it at that time. That was around the era of Instagram, and social media was really big, and I used that opportunity to create that persona around my passion, and kind of coined that phrase, that branding guy. And what makes my approach different is that I just don't focus on your typical design work where you would come to a branding professional for to design logos or campaigns. But I really dive deep into cultural context. I love to study consumer behavior, and I'm always looking at the long-term positioning.
Well, you know, we're gonna drill down into that. I have a whole lot of questions I want to ask you. Okay, so because we only have 30 minutes, and I gotta tell you, I have so much I want to talk to you about. You've worked with a lot of different major entities, including the time that you spent with Korea Brewery, and you work with some other fairly large trademarks. But what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned while branding Caribbean products for the U.S.?
Oh man, biggest lessons that I've learned. I would say that especially for Caribbean businesses, and you make mention of Carib Lager, Carib Beer, Carib Brewery USA. I think they gave me my biggest lesson. But outside of Carib, I've also worked, and I still work for Caribbean Airlines. Which is has been one of my longest standing clients, having them for over a decade and a half. But one of the major lessons that I've learned from all of these brands that I've worked with is that nostalgia isn't strategy. And
just because we did it, we've been doing it the same way forever and ever, doesn't make it a brand strategy, right?
Exactly, but it is a starting point, right? Yeah. And we all need a starting point in the business. And Caribbean brands often lead with this homegrown pride type of messaging. But in the US market, you need a lot more, right? Yeah. You need clear positioning. You need an emotional storytelling. You need definitely competitive pricing, and consistency and quality, and the ability to supply on the demand. And have a solid distribution chain set up in the US. Right. Consumers here are non-forgiving, right? Another key insight was the importance of cultural translation. What works in the Caribbean doesn't necessarily work for the Caribbean American consumer.
You know, we're going to talk about that because I really want to drill down into that. We need to take a commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk exactly about that, the cultural advocacy as well as community impact and how you have to navigate that. Well, we'll be right back.
History? Yeah, we built that. Pride? We fuel that. And on August 30th, we run that. Two powerhouse HBCUs, Howard Bison, FAMU Rattlers, one legendary showdown under the Miami lights at Hard Rock Stadium. The energy unmatched. The culture undeniable. The vibes straight HBCU. Get your crew. You don't want to miss this. Lock in your seats now at orangeblossomclassic.com.
Miami-Dade is filled with dreams, talent, love. At the Children's Trust, we are dedicated to nurturing the potential of every child and family with hundreds of trust-funded programs. Find a program at thechildrenstrust.org.
Help comes in many forms. As a Miami-Dade County bus operator, you can help your community, help those in need, and even help yourself. Operators have the opportunity to earn more than $50,000 a year plus built-in overtime, earn more than 13 paid holidays and vacation days, and take advantage of the tuition reimbursement program. Plus, qualified new drivers will receive a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Become a driving force in our community. Apply now at miamidade.gov/busdriver.
School's almost back, but first, let's have some fun. It's the Children's Trust Family Expo, packed with music, shows, and back-to-school supplies. Join us August 2nd at the Fuchs Pavilion at Miami-Dade Fairgrounds. We'll even help you get there. It's easy with an Uber voucher, good for up to $15 each way. Free entry, free parking, free family joy. Visit thechildrenstrust.org/Family Expo for details. Let's go to the Family Expo. Uber voucher terms and conditions apply.
We're back, and we're talking to Asa Seeley of that branding guy. Now, Asa, I have some questions about that translation that we were talking about before the break. Now, through your agency, IFOS, and platforms like Trade Tech, you help brands to scale in America, and some of them have common challenges in order to be able to make that translation. I want to drill down into that. How do you help them overcome those barriers that you talked about just before the break?
Well, some of the biggest challenges for these companies is that the educational piece, right? And understanding compliance and the capital and connection. And many of the businesses that I've worked with and assisted over the years, they don't fully understand the regulatory requirements, especially in the food and beverage space in the US. It's either that or they underestimate the marketing budgets that they need to scale and what that looks like. And for most of them, it's a big pill to swallow.
Oh, absolutely. Culture shock, right? I mean, just
Literally,
sticker shock, you know?
But when I left Carib Brewery back in December of 2024. And when I exited that very nurturing relationship, because they definitely gave me access to build relationships through a network across the US, even globally. And I have some of my greatest relationships and friends within that space that I'm able to tap into. Relationships have really helped me get to where I was. I decided to launch a company called Trade Trek USA. And this platform, it's really a tech-based company. It's a solution, a matchmaking solution that I'm able to match that network of vetted service providers with brands that are looking to enter after evaluating where they are in terms of their ability to enter. Then we match them with service providers that are able to almost guarantee their success in entering the space. So
because of the fact that they work with efficiencies, or your Trade Tech is able to find efficiencies for those companies to be able to come into this marketplace?
Exactly. We provide even online education sessions. We have a series called Market Access Series. And if you're from the Caribbean, you know what MAS is, right? Carnival is MAS. And MAS, that's our acronym, because we feel that there's a business to Carnival as well. So we're bringing that MAS experience to the corporate side. So our Market Access Series happens. We just had one, a session on the tariff talk, where Port Miami came on with a couple of their VPs to educate the Caribbean brands about solutions around navigating the new tariff situation that they are facing. And we have also taken the opportunity with the introduction of these tariffs to also pivot and offer the brands information on accessing emerging markets, Southeast Asia, Africa, Dubai. So we're also looking at not just the US as an option, because I don't foresee the US not being an option. I definitely feel brands need to look at the US.
It's not going to go away. We're too deeply connected. You know,
and you gotta conquer it, you know. So we have established a regional expansion for them, where because I am having conversations with so many islands, so many manufacturing associations across the region, I'm also able to assist brands as they try to expand to the US as they come up. Let's say you're going from Trinidad, you might want to look at Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Bahamas before you even get to the US. So while your interest might be the US, after evaluation, I may recommend that you start, a regional expansion plan, which I'm able to assist with as well, before you even get into the US. Because as I said before, you need to they underestimate marketing, which is huge in the US in such a competitive space.
It's like it is the biggest line item. It is absolutely the biggest line item. Let me ask you, you seem to be very passionate about this. Why is cultural representation in business so important? And how do you merge that with the entrepreneurial kind of work that you do? You seem to be very involved in that whole idea about cultural representation.
Well, culture is my currency, right? Culture is our currency. That's how I navigate this entire space up here. I've created that lane for myself. It's how we connect. It's how we influence. It's how we inspire. And representation matters when people see their heritage reflected in business, right? It affirms their identity. It unlocks opportunity. And people respond to that. So I don't separate my advocacy from my business at all. They go hand in hand. And I maintain that with every idea that I come up with, every business concept that I launch. Culture is always at the forefront. Whether it's through an event, a children's book, which I'm finishing up writing, a marketing campaign, I always ask myself, how does this uplift our people? How does it tell our story in a powerful way and make an impact? So
right. And it's so doggone important. And I always say that if we don't tell our own history and honor our own culture, somebody will tell our own history for us, right? So I absolutely believe that. Let's talk about the executive meeting recording studio project that you're working. I know that you're co-leading this space with Kevin Little. What's the vision behind that partnership, and how do music and business intersect for you?
Well, Kevin Little, number one, is a gem, right? I think he is not only an amazing artist, but he is also has also grown to be a really good friend of mine.
Okay.
And Kevin and I share a belief that Caribbean music deserves world-class infrastructure. And for all of my projects, I look at, I don't operate in a silo. I really try to expand because I'm not
connect the dots. You're connecting the dots all the time.
All the time. And I've also realized that I'm not just speaking to in the US. I'm not just speaking to a Caribbean American. I'm also speaking outside of that our diaspora. Because you have opportunities not just in within the diaspora. They have people that salivate over our culture and
absolutely
travel around the world, and we have.
How many people have Bob Marley right now in their playlist, and Ziggy and those guys in their playlist right now, and they listen to it on every day of the week, right?
Yeah,
exactly right.
And Bob is just one of the examples that we can reference,
Yeah, for me, I'm just saying that.
But Kevin and I share that belief, and Executive Music Studios is just that. It's about giving artists a world-class infrastructure and especially Caribbean and diaspora talent, right? A space to create, collaborate, and produce at a high level. Kevin loves music, and he's always willing to work with upcoming artists and produce music that is going to touch the masses. So, but for me, music and business, they both revolve around storytelling and emotion, which is where I come in. That's what gets me up and going every day. And the studio is basically an investment. It's an investment into my legacy and the next generation.
Cool. Well, I'll tell you what, we have to take another one of those dreaded commercial breaks, right? You got to pay the bills. So when we come back, I really want to talk about what's next for you. You mentioned a couple things that we're going to drill down into. So come back, stay tuned. You don't want to miss this. We'll be right back.
History? Yeah, we built that. Pride? We fuel that. And on August 30th, we run that. 2 powerhouse HBCUs, Howard Bison, FAMU Rattlers, one legendary showdown under the Miami lights at Hard Rock Stadium. The energy unmatched. The culture undeniable. The vibes straight HBCU. Get your crew. You don't want to miss this. Lock in your seats now at orangeblossomclassic.com.
Miami-Dade is filled with dreams, talent, love. At the Children's Trust, we are dedicated to nurturing the potential of every child and family with hundreds of trust-funded programs. Find a program at thechildrenstrust.org.
Help comes in many forms. As a Miami-Dade County bus operator, you can help your community, help those in need, and even help yourself. Operators have the opportunity to earn more than $50,000 a year plus built-in overtime, earn more than 13 paid holidays and vacation days, and take advantage of the tuition reimbursement program. Plus, qualified new drivers will receive a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Become a driving force in our community. Apply now at miamidade.gov/busdriver.
School's almost back, but first, let's have some fun. It's the Children's Trust Family Expo, packed with music, shows, and back-to-school supplies. Join us August 2nd at the Fuchs Pavilion at Miami-Dade Fairgrounds. We'll even help you get there. It's easy with an Uber voucher, good for up to $15 each way. Free entry, free parking, free family joy. Visit thechildrenstrust.org/Family Expo for details. Let's go to the Family Expo. Uber voucher terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. We're again with Asa Seeley, that marketing guy, that brand guy. And I want to talk about a couple of things that you and I had actually talked about before the last time we met. First of all, you have a children's book series coming out, The Adventures of Carney and Val, and a new podcast called The Strip Club about men's mental health. And I really want to talk about what motivated you to start these projects, and how do they really tie into your larger mission, Asa?
Well, both projects, they were born out of personal reflection. With Carney and Val and their adventures, it's actually about my kids, my 2 kids.
I
right?
love that.
Carney is my son, my 8-year-old son, and Val is my daughter, my 13-year-old daughter. And I wanted my kids and other kids to learn more about their Caribbean heritage in a fun way, a visual way, right? It's basically a love letter to our culture and a bridge between generations. Carney and Val, they are going to be taking trips to different parts of the world. I've started in the Caribbean because it's home to me. And we are using Carnival as the launch for the first book of this in the series, and teaching about the history of Carnival, not just what we see today in terms of parade, the parties, the scantily clothed, beautiful women on the streets. There's a serious history behind that. The Camboulé, the riots, when the slaves back in the day took to the streets to celebrate freedom. And so I've took to illustrating that in a fun way for the kids to appreciate, because I want them to carry on, or if they participate in Carnival, understand what it's about. Not just jump on the street, jump behind a music truck, put on a costume. Why does dad or mom have me dressed like this once a year? and get them to really have an appreciation for the culture.
What it actually means. Yeah.
Correct. Yes. So, and then the strip club, that came from my own journey. That as a father, as a recent divorcee, as a man navigating healing. And I wanted to create a safe space for men to be real, raw, and supported. And both projects really center around identity, legacy, and healing. And it's Men's Mental Health Month. It's a big thing. And after my divorce, I hit a wall emotionally. Right. I realized I had spent years performing strengths. Right. But I never really truly felt safe to be vulnerable. And through the healing process, I started to appreciate vulnerability. The more I shared with my brothers, the more they opened up to me, the more that we were there for each other. And I said, man, I need to create a space that I could touch not just my circle, but I can reach outside of that circle, because I'm not going to sit here and fool myself into believing that it's just my group of friends that deal with these struggles daily.
Right. We're not always okay, and it's okay not to be okay, right?
Correct. Yeah.
It really is. I tell you what, now we only have a short period of time, so I'm going to ask you this. My last question. Briefly, tell me, what advice would you give to Black professionals, especially those that want to find themselves in your career? And I probably got about 20 seconds.
Well, 20 seconds. Let's wrap it up. Guys, don't wait to be picked. All right. Yeah. Build your own table. Start where you are. Use what you have, and stay true to your why. The world doesn't need a watered down version of yourself, right? It needs real, unapologetic, passionate you. And remember, it's not just about building a business. It's about building a legacy.
I love that, Asa. We've been talking to Asa Seeley. I got to tell you, Asa, I really have enjoyed the conversation with you, and love the name of your business, That Branding Guy. I want to just say to everybody listening to this thing, please follow this man. You're not going to be disappointed. He wears a lot of hats. He's got a lot of things going on. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, and join us next week when we bring more stories about Black excellence. And until then, keep building. And Asa, you personally continue to make a difference. This is the Business of Black Business. Thank you, Legacy Magazine, for making this important. And I always say that if it is to be, it's up to me. See you next time.